Hey guys, what's going on? Today we got the new Amplify mixer and AM8 microphone, and we're going to be checking them out and seeing how they are to use, how they sound, and if I think you should get them. All that soon to come, but first, if you guys could hit those like and subscribe buttons, that'd be awesome. And with all that out of the way, let's get into this because we got a lot to cover today. So to start out with, this microphone is basically a USB mic, and then this is a USB mixer that takes an analog input. But this also has a XLR output, and this has an XLR input, so you can chain them together, but this can also be used independently. Lot to go over there. I know it's kind of complicated, but I'm going to try to keep it simple and give you tests of both the microphone by itself and the microphone in line with the mixer. So we're going to start out with just going over the microphone itself, and then we're going to go over the mixer, and then I'm going to kind of show the combo together and all that stuff. So this is pretty much just a pretty generic USB microphone. It's got RGB lighting that you can mess around with. It's got a headphone output. It's got a USB-C input, so you can connect that to any PC or Mac. And it's a dynamic, basically cardioid style microphone. You can also adjust the gain, and it's got a built-in mute button that you can mute right there. So that's pretty much the microphone. Okay, now moving on to the mixer, this thing has a bunch of stuff going on. So it's got an XLR input with phantom power. It's got a headset input. It's also got a line in. It then has a headset out and a line out as well as USB that you can connect to a PC, and the sound can be output that way. So a whole lot going on there, but I'll try to keep it simple and kind of show you everything it can do. So those are kind of the inputs and outputs of the mixer, but you can also use other features such as voice changing, so you can sound like a robot or whatever. I'll kind of show you that later. And it's got kind of seems like auto-tune, as well as the ability to record custom sounds and then play those back. So that's I'm trying to keep it basic here, but that's pretty much the generic idea of what this thing does. So now moving into the combo, you can chain this to this by taking an XLR port from here to here and then outputting it. I will say if you do that, you then also have to power this microphone itself if you want to have the RGB. If you don't care about the RGB, then you don't need to power it at all. It can be just standalone, it won't light up, and the mute button, I will also say, does not work on the microphone if you're using the mixer. The mute button on the microphone the microphone will continue to record even if you press the mute button here, because it's not muted here. There's a different mute button on this. So it's getting complicated, I know. I'm trying to keep it simple, but I'm also trying to explain it so everyone understands what's going on. So I think I explained how everything works. But now let's kind of get into the usability of how it is to work, and then I'm going to do some microphone tests so you guys can hear what it sounds like. So the microphone works pretty much how you would expect it to. You can mute itself and you can adjust the volume. But the mixer is more complicated. Basically what it lets you do, the overall idea of this thing, is to let you connect multiple inputs and have a singular output, whether that be to PC or to an audio output like an analog one. And then you have sliders to adjust the volume levels of both the outputs and the inputs, and it does all the combining for you, and you can adjust it so that it sounds good to you. It also does have meters on the top to show you how loud it is, because volume, the way it works is you can peak if you get too loud. So that's pretty much the idea there of how this thing works. Now I'm going to try, I think I covered most of how it is to use. I'm going to start doing some tests here, and then we'll see how it sounds. Okay, so now we're going to do a test of the microphone passed through the mixer right here. I'm just going to start talking, kind of give you guys a basic idea. I don't know, there's no audio tests that I know of, and I can't sing, so this is all you're getting. But I think it should give you a pretty comprehensive idea of how the microphone works. I'm also going to test out some of the voice effects.
So you can sound like a male.
You can sound like a female.
Sound like a robot. You can sound like a monster.
You can sound like a baby.
Or you can sound like an elder. I didn't know elder sounded differently, but this is what you get.
And then I will also, this is some of the auto-tuning stuff. I tested it some. I couldn't tell a huge difference on the setting I was on, but I mean, maybe it depends. Also, I'm not musically inclined, so maybe I just don't know what I'm listening for. But it is there. And then also, just for example, you can press the mute button. But as I said earlier, if you mute it up here, it doesn't do anything. Okay, now this is a test of just the microphone itself. So I know this is still connected, but it's not really doing anything at this point. So basically just trying to get you an idea of what this sounds like as well. You can here, and now you can hear me again. So basically just an idea of what it sounds like. Okay, so that's pretty much a comprehensive thing of how these things sound like. I am going to go get a keyboard and try to make some clicky clacky noises to see the isolation, but I think it's actually pretty good. Okay, so this is again through the whole setup, so both items, and I'm just going to start typing here just so you get a better idea of like what this actually sounds like. I mean, this is a really loud keyboard, so I think this is like a worst case scenario, especially with the mic being so close, but I think it does decent isolation. Like, it would be annoying, but maybe not the worst thing ever. Overall, though, I think it does sound pretty good, and there's some other things I do want to get into now that we've kind of done all the tests. Here, I'll put this away. Okay, so now that we got through all the tests, let's get into like basically the overall usability of this thing. I think that especially for their price, these two things do a great job. They sound like decent enough for you to do it for a podcast or just gaming with your friends, definitely anything like that. And it is like, it lets you upgrade to a higher tier item. So if you wanted to get a really nice XLR mic but couldn't afford a higher XLR DAC, this thing for $50 I think is a great deal. And then at the same time, if you wanted to like, maybe you just had an XLR thing or you wanted to use something like an inline audio modifier, I don't know what they're officially called, but like I've got like I think it's called like a DBX like 286S or something. It like lets you maybe put a compressor and like a de-esser and stuff on your voice that normally like it you can get them used not terribly expensive. You could use this mic in line with like an XLR port and stuff. So I think that if that's what you're looking for, this does a more than decent job. Some other minor usability things, like both this is arm mounted and it's phantom powered, so you don't have to use the power cord as well if you don't want to. I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to say specifically about it. Like, it's pretty like self-explanatory. I think it kind of just does what it says it does, which is exactly what I look for in a product. To compare it to other things, I think like compared to my Blue Yeti, I think it's probably somewhat similar. I can drop a recording in here of me on the Blue Yeti as well, just so you guys get a reference, but it's going to sound pretty similar, I think. Hey guys, this is a sound recording on the Blue Yeti microphone. And then my other thing would be, I think it's called like an MKE 600 or something from Sennheiser. That's what I use for like boom mic up there. So I mean, it's a pretty generic mic. It's like more than hobbyist probably, or it's like upper hobbyist. I don't know what it's called, but that's what I have my normal voice going through. So if you want that as a reference, there's that as well. If you guys have any other questions though, I mean, please feel free to let me know in the comments. I think overall this setup it's pretty good. I think it does what it says it does, and that's all I really look for. It seems pretty high quality, like all the materials are pretty solid, and the mic cover comes off if you want to like mess with like clean that or anything like that. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions, just let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to respond. And if I don't respond, it's probably because I don't know the answer, so I don't want to just say something wrong. But that's all I have for today. If you guys could hit those like and subscribe buttons, that would really help me out as a small creator. And with all that out of the way, thanks for watching and see you later.